Alright guys, so I'm here a couple of weeks later and I am finally done with the heads. It took about 35 to 40 hours of just hand blending and porting and polishing to get these things to the way I like them. So as you can see here, the combustion chamber is fully polished. That's going to help with preventing carbon buildup, preventing detonation, and also preventing hot spots, things of that nature. So it's a full F1 treatment on the heads. I did the full 9 yards. You cannot do any more than you see here. I also blended in the K-Tech valve job, and I opened up the throats here 15 thousandths to give a little bit more flow as I blended it in. So a little bit more open on the throats. It's going to allow for better airflow, and these heads should perform extremely well. But fully polished combustion chamber, exhaust port, and then the intake I left a 120 grit, but then I chased it with a 400 grit belt to kind of buff it out. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to show you right here the gasket matching and the port matching I did. So I have a new set of gaskets, and I basically traced it out, and I have the full opening on the exhaust. Now I only did this about an inch in, not all the way through, because I want to keep velocity. So I basically flared it out to the gasket. As you can see there, the intake is fully flared to the gasket, port matched or gasket matched, whatever you want to call it. See if we get a better lighting. There we go. Everything is hand blended in. These heads did get K-Tech CNC ported. That did help out removing all the material. I just basically followed the contour of the K-Tech CNC porting and hand blended everything together. So as you can see there, some really nice shots of the intake and exhaust runners. On the bronze guides, I did a bullet nose on there to make sure I get no impedance on the airflow. Looking really good. I really like the way it came out. Let's take a look at the exhaust now. Let's get it in the light. The exhaust is fully polished, like I said, just like the combustion chamber. That's going to help with a lot of things and prevent buildup and hot spots and things of that nature. So really good looking runners now. They're fully opened up to the gasket, as you can see. The K-Tech CNC porting left about 100 thousandths all the way around to still open it up to the gasket. For whatever reason, that's the way they do it. I'm not sure what other companies do for CNC porting, if they open it up to the gasket or not. I was expecting that from K-Tech, but I'm pretty sure there's a reason why they do it. You know, if it was going on a different build, a different, you know, like say a slightly less of a build, like a stage 2 or stage 1 or whatever, then I guess you would leave the runners alone. But I want a max effort. I wanted to port out those to the largest size I could. So as you can see there, the beautiful exhaust port, looking absolutely gorgeous, fully polished and contoured, and I really like the way it looks. So let me show you really quick the tools I used and kind of, you know, kind of a summary of what it takes to do this type of work. It requires a lot of patience from your end. Most people I know are not interested in that, and probably could not even bear doing a job like this, because it really tests your patience. That is no joke. There was times where I had to just, you know, walk away for the day because there's only a certain amount of, you know, effort you have in one day that you can put towards it and not screw things up. So you got to be on top of your game. You got to be well rested. You got to be focused. That way you don't screw things up. But here's a nice close-up shot of the combustion chamber. Let's get some light. There we go. Looking really nice. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you guys a kind of a quick recap of the tools I used in the process. So started off with the scrapers, 3 different sizes to blend in the valve job. That worked great. I did not want to attempt to touch it with a carbide burr because it might take off too much material. I wanted to go nice and slow with the scrapers and just shave off material and change the different size scrapers as I needed. The whole thing was done with an optivisor so I could see really close up and get into some really detailed work. So next I used the carbide burrs, which I used to blend in the valve job. I used 2 different sizes here, or shapes. These are single fluted and they're carbide. These small ones work great because you can really get in and have a lot of control, especially with this mini die grinder here, the Matic style. This works great. So valve job blended in. Then I went ahead and did my port matching and my blending with these rolls. So I have 80 grit and 120 grit, some different sizes here, but that's what I use to blend in the exhaust and the intake ports. I use this here, this flap wheel, which is I think an 80 grit flap wheel, to blend in the combustion chamber. You know, and then also this right here is a tool I made, an arbor I made for this belt, which is 400 grit, which I use to finish off the intake and kind of buff out the exhaust as well. So this comes handy. I cut like 5-6 inches off this belt, which is normally used for a combination sander like this. I cut the belt up and then I installed it inside the slot here, which I cut out on my bandsaw. This is about 6-7 inches long, and this got installed inside the right angle die grinder, just like this. And this comes in great use for like stuff with the belt, because the belt will give a nice consistent finish all the way around instead of these rolls, which leaves a bunch of like trails and marks all over the place. So finished off the final finish with this 400 grit belt. You can experiment with different size grits and things like that, but I found the 400 was perfect for a final finish, a final buff. Then I went into the Scotch-Brite buffs that I used along with this tool here again, and I went from 120 to I think 180, 320, and this is 400. So those work great. I did both intake, exhaust, and combustion chamber. I finished it off with the 400. So I did not go all the way with the intake though. I stopped. I did buff just past the valve guide. Sorry, the valve seat with, I believe, the red one, and I polished the valve seats with the black. I went through the whole step, the whole process here, but I did not go all the way through the intake, I'm trying to say. So I only like kind of blended in where the valve seat is with a fully polish. So the tools I used was mostly this one here. This right angle one comes in handy. It's the best one for the job because it has the most control. You can kind of get into a compact area, a tight area, and really maneuver around. I found I used this a lot more than this here. I actually didn't even use this. I used this when I ported my snout, but having this longer arbor right here, this longer mandrel, is the best. This is a 6-inch one because it allows you to really get this thing deep in there and not to gouge up your gasket surface with this here, because usually it will hit on this part of the tool, and this is what's going to bang up your flange or your manifolds. So moving along, the final step was to polish the combustion chamber and exhaust, and I did that with the mini die grinder, pencil grinder here, which worked amazing. Okay, and this is the wool buff that I use, a nice fluffy buff with the Mother's mag and aluminum polish. This worked great on the heads, and then I buffed it out with a microfiber, as you see in the video. I basically put this onto this here with a sanding roll, and it grabbed it and it did a final buff and finished the exhaust really well. So those are all my tools. You know, you got to take your time with this. This takes a lot of time. I'm not even joking. It's a minimum of 40 hours. of just, blending, sanding, buffing, polishing, and the deal. So that is what I used in kind of a nutshell. You need a lot of patience for this. This is not something, if you do not have a lot of patience, you can only do so much at a time. Like I said, do not try to do a whole bunch of work in one day, because you will most likely screw it up and then you're gonna regret it. So this is what I did. These are the tools, and I really hope you guys enjoyed the whole process of porting and blending and polishing the heads. I know that I'm finally so happy to be done, because this was like so daunting and meticulous, and it's such tedious work. It was really kind of getting on my nerves a little bit how much work I had to put into this, but I'm really happy that it's finally done. So, one last look at the heads. They have a nice engraving on either end that says K-Tech. The K-Tech CNC porting, like I said, doesn't touch the full interior of the runner, and that's because they only open it up to what they have proven for testing to work and to have good airflow. So to them, CNC porting is quick and easy to do because they have the machine. Hand porting would be a lot more labor intensive, and for a company, they don't like to do that. They like to have quick things, quick in and out to be done. So here are the heads one last time. I'll give you a nice close-up shot. Can't wait to put these in. The camshaft is already in the car. Now it's just a matter of putting the timing set and bolting up the heads and establishing the timing and dialing in the camshaft. So I'll do that next. The next thing I will be doing is checking the vacuum, or pulling a vacuum on each one of the valves with this vacuum plate I made. I have to apply a gasket here, but use the vacuum plate and apply a vacuum to each one of the runners to make sure that I have good, a good seal on each one of them. So we'll obviously install the valves and the springs and everything once I get this all cleaned up, and check if it has a good seal on the valve seat. I'm gonna first try it as is, and then if I need to, I'm gonna go ahead and lap everything in or accordingly. So that's gonna be the next thing. If you guys want to see that in the video, let me know. I might make a video of that and post it. But that's it for today, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you have any questions or comments, please place them right down below. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.